Admiral J. Ho Park stood on the bridge of the battlecruiser Dauntless, watching the stars through the wide viewing windows. The ship moved through space at incredible speed, but the stars looked still and peaceful. J. Ho had been in space for 20 years, and he still found the view amazing. "Admiral, we are getting something strange," said Lieutenant Subin Lee from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, a young woman who was very good at her job. Her face looked worried as she stared at her screens. "What kind of strange?" J. Ho asked. He walked over to Subin's station. The bridge was quiet except for the soft sounds of the ship's computers. "It's a signal, sir. Very weak. It's coming from the Kepler 442 system." Subin pressed some buttons and the signal became louder. It was full of static and hard to understand. "That's impossible," said Commander Taemin John, who was standing nearby. "There's nothing in that system. We checked it years ago. No planets that can support life." J. Ho frowned. "Play it again, Subin. Clean it up if you can." Subin worked on her computer for several minutes. The signal became clearer, but it was still hard to understand. Strange sounds came through the speakers, along with what sounded like numbers. "Those numbers," said Dr. Soon Ho Kang, the ship's science officer. He was a thin man who spent most of his time studying alien life. "They're mathematical, universal mathematical sequences. Any smart species would understand them." "So someone is trying to talk to us," J. Ho said. "But who?" The signal played again. This time they could hear more. There were sounds that might have been voices, but they were not human voices. They were higher and had a musical quality to them. "Wait," Subin said suddenly. "I'm getting more. There's tactical data in this signal. Ship movements, weapon readings, battle formations." "Battle formations?" J. Ho asked. "Are they fighting someone?" The answer came a few minutes later when Subin managed to decode more of the message. The voice that came through the speakers was clearly afraid, even though they could not understand the words. "They're losing," Dr. Kang said quietly. "Whatever this species is, they're losing a war." J. Ho made a quick decision. "Subin, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have first contact with an unknown species. They're in trouble and asking for help." "Yes, sir," Subin said. "Commander Jian, change our course. Set a path for Kepler 442. "Sir, that will take us 3 weeks to get there," Jian said. "Then we better start now," J. Ho replied. Captain Mi-young Kim was having breakfast when she got the message. She was the commander of the Whisper, a small and fast ship that was perfect for scouting missions. The message was short but clear. "Go to Kepler 442 and find out what was happening." Mi-young was excited. First contact with aliens was something every space officer dreamed about. She had been in space for 15 years and had never seen any sign of alien life. The Whisper was much faster than the Dauntless. It could jump through space using special engines that bent reality itself. The trip to Kepler 442 took only 2 days. When they arrived, Mi-young could not believe what she saw. "Oh my God," whispered Lieutenant Bo Ra-han from the pilot's seat. "What happened here?" The system had 4 planets. 3 of them were completely dead. Their surfaces had been turned into glass by incredible heat. What had once been cities and forests were now smooth, melted stone. "Take us to the 4th planet," Mi-young ordered. "Slowly. Keep the weapons ready." As they got closer to Kepler 442b, they could see it was different from the others. It was still alive, but barely. Parts of the surface glowed with fires. Strange. Ships moved around the planet like insects around a light. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from those ships, said the science officer. "They're not like anything in our databases." "And the planet?" Mi-young asked. "Still has life signs, but they're weak. Whatever species lives there, most of them are gone." Mi-young felt sick. This was not the first contact she had dreamed about. This was genocide. "Send a message to Admiral Park," she said. "Tell him what we found, and tell him to bring everything we have." The message took hours to reach the Dauntless, but when it did, the effect was immediate. Admiral J. Ho Park read the report twice, then called an emergency meeting of all his senior officers. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said as they gathered in the meeting room. "We have a situation. Captain Kim has found evidence of what appears to be the complete destruction of an alien civilization." He showed them pictures from the Whisper's cameras. The melted planets looked like something from a nightmare. The fourth planet is still fighting, but they won't last long. The attackers have thousands of ships. We don't know who they are or what they want, but they're very good at killing entire worlds. "What do we do?" asked Commander John. "We help them," Jae-ho said simply. "It's the right thing to do." "Sir, with respect, we have one battle cruiser and a few support ships," said the weapons officer. "Against thousands of enemy ships, we won't make much difference." Jae-ho smiled grimly. "Then we call for backup. Subin, send a message to Earth. Priority Alpha. Tell them we need the big guns." "The dreadnoughts?" Subin asked, her eyes wide. "All of them," Jae-ho confirmed. "If we're going to save this species, we'll need every weapon Earth has." As the message raced toward Earth at faster than light speed, Admiral Park looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, an entire species was dying. But if humans were good at anything, it was war. And sometimes, war was the only way to save innocent lives. The Dauntless continued toward Kepler 442, but now it was not alone. Soon the most powerful ships humanity had ever built would follow. The aliens who were destroying worlds were about to learn why humans were called the War Titans of the galaxy. The message from Admiral Park reached Earth in the middle of the night. Director Hye-jin Nam was sleeping when her emergency communicator started beeping. She looked at the clock. It was 3 a.m. "This better be important," she muttered as she answered the call. "Ma'am, we have a priority Alpha message from the Kepler sector," said the duty officer. "Admiral Park is requesting immediate military assistance." Hye-jin was suddenly very awake. Priority Alpha meant either Earth was under attack or something equally serious was happening. "Send it to my office computer. And wake up General Cho. Tell him to meet me at headquarters in 1 hour." General Dong-hyun Cho was already reading the message when Hye-jin arrived at the Global Defense Council building. The general was a big man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had fought in 3 wars and never lost a battle. "Have you seen this?" he asked, pointing at his computer screen. "Just finished reading it," Hye-jin said. "An entire alien species being wiped out. Ships we don't understand. Weapons that can melt planets. And Park wants us to send the dreadnoughts," General Cho said. "All of them." Hye-jin sat down heavily in her chair. The dreadnoughts were Earth's most powerful weapons. Each ship was the size of a small city and carried enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. But they had been mothballed for 50 years, ever since the peace treaties ended the Centauri Wars. "We can't," she said. "We have conflicts on 17 different worlds. If we send the dreadnoughts to help some aliens we've never met, what happens if someone attacks our colonies? What happens if these planet killers finish with the aliens and come looking for us?" General Cho asked. Before Hye-jin could answer, Dr. Soon-ho Kang walked into the room. He looked tired but excited. "I've been analyzing the data from Captain Kim's ship," he said without greeting them. "The energy signatures from the attacking vessels are unlike anything we've ever seen. But I recognize the pattern." "What pattern?" General Cho asked. Dr. Kang pulled up a holographic display. It showed the melted planets, with energy readings overlaid on the images. "They're not just destroying cities or killing people," he said. "They're consuming everything. The planets aren't just dead. They've been stripped of all organic matter. Even the bacteria in the soil is gone." Hye-jin felt cold. "What kind of species does that?" "The kind that eats entire worlds," Dr. Kang said grimly. "And when they finish with one system, they move to the next. This isn't war. It's feeding time." General Cho stood up. "Then we have no choice. If we don't stop them there, they'll eventually find us." 3 hours later, Fleet Admiral Yu Na-song stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense platform. She was looking at a list of ships on her computer screen. At the top of the list were 5 names that made her feel both proud and worried. The Dreadnoughts: Thunderstrike, Worldbreaker, Voidrender, Starfall, and Doomhammer. Each ship had been built during the darkest days of the Centauri Wars, when humanity thought it might lose everything. They were designed for one purpose: to completely destroy the enemy. "Ma'am, the Global Defense Council has approved Operation Titanfall," reported Commander Yoon-soo Kim. "You are authorized to wake the sleeping giants." Admiral Song nodded. "Send activation orders to all 5 Dreadnought facilities. Full crews, full supplies, full weapons load. I want them ready to jump in 72 hours. "Yes, ma'am. And the crews?" "Pull them from the Academy reserves and the veteran lists. Anyone who has ever served on a capital ship. This is going to be the biggest fleet action in 50 years. Across Earth and its colonies, thousands of former naval officers received emergency recall orders. Men and women who had been teachers, farmers, and shopkeepers suddenly found themselves back in uniform. Commander Tai Min-jeon was one of them. He had been retired for 5 years, running a small farm on Mars. But when the call came, he didn't hesitate. The Thunderstrike had been his ship during the Centauri Wars. He knew every bolt and wire in her massive hull. The Thunderstrike facility was located in Earth's asteroid belt, hidden inside a hollowed-out mountain of rock and metal. When John arrived, the massive ship was already coming alive. Lights flickered on throughout her 15-kilometer length. Her engines, cold for 50 years, began to warm up. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" asked Chief Engineer Woo-jin Park as he joined John on the observation deck. "She's a monster," John said quietly. "But sometimes you need monsters to fight monsters." The Thunderstrike was not just a ship, it was a flying fortress. Her hull was 2 meters of hardened steel and ceramic armor. Her weapons could destroy cities. Her engines could push her to nearly the speed of light. And in her deepest levels, she carried the Stellar Breaker cannon, a weapon that could crack planets in half. "How long until she's ready?" John asked. 48 hours for basic systems, another week for the Stellar Breaker. "We don't have a week. Those aliens are dying right now." Engineer Park nodded. "Then we'll have to risk jumping with an incomplete weapons load. The main guns will work, but the Stellar Breaker will have to wait," John finished. "What about the other ships?" "Worldbreaker and Voidrender are in better shape. They were serviced more recently. Starfall and Doomhammer will need more time." John made a decision. "We go with 3 ships, the other 2 can follow when they're ready." Throughout the solar system, similar scenes were playing out. The Worldbreaker, commanded by Captain Sang Ho-yoon, was pulling crew members from every available source. The Voidrender, under Commander Yoon-soo Kim, was loading enough ammunition to fight a year-long war. On Earth, Dr. Kang was analyzing every piece of data they had about the enemy. The attacking ships seemed to be organic, grown rather than built. They could change shape and size. Some were as small as fighters, others as large as cruisers. "They're like insects," he told General Cho. "A swarm species. Individual ships aren't very smart, but together they act like a single organism." "How do we fight something like that?" the general asked. "With overwhelming firepower," Dr. Kang said. "Insects can't think their way out of problems. They just react. If we hit them hard enough and fast enough, they might break and run. And if they don't?" Dr. Kang was quiet for a moment. "Then we better hope the dreadnoughts are as scary as we built them to be." 2 days later, Admiral Song stood on the bridge of the Thunderstrike as the massive ship prepared for its first jump in 50 years. Around her, 15,000 crew members worked at their stations. The ship hummed with power. "All systems green," reported the navigation officer. "Jump coordinates locked in." "Communications, signal the fleet," Song ordered. "Worldbreaker and Voidrender ready to jump," came the reply. Song looked out at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, aliens were dying, but humanity had answered the call. The War Titans were awake and they were coming. "All ships," she said into her communicator. "Execute jump. Operation Titanfall is go." The 3 massive ships disappeared, in flashes of twisted space and time, racing toward a distant system where the future of 2 species would be decided. The jump through hyperspace was like riding inside a thunderstorm. Admiral Yu Na-song held tight to her command chair as the Thunderstrike shook and twisted through dimensions that human minds were not meant to understand. Around her, The bridge. Crew worked at their stations, their faces pale but determined. "Jump completion in 30 seconds, announced the navigation officer. His voice was steady, but Song could see sweat on his forehead. The 3 dreadnoughts had been traveling for 6 days through hyperspace, pushing their engines harder than was safe. The normal trip to Kepler 442 would take 7 weeks. They were trying to do it in 6 days. "All stations report ready," said Commander Taman John from his position at the tactical station. "Emerge from hyperspace in 3, 2, 1. Reality snapped back into focus. The stars returned, and immediately every alarm on the ship started screaming. "Contact!" shouted the sensor operator. "Massive contacts all around us." Song looked at the main display screen and felt her blood turn cold. The Kepler 442 system was full of ships. Not hundreds, millions. They moved in swirling patterns around the 4th planet like a living storm cloud. "My God," whispered someone, on the bridge. The alien ships were unlike anything in human databases. They looked grown rather than built, with smooth curves and organic shapes. Some were small, no bigger than human fighters. Others were massive, the size of battleships. And they were all moving, constantly shifting and flowing like schools of fish. "Signal from the Worldbreaker," reported the communications officer. "Captain Yoon says his tactical computers can't count them all. There are too many." "What about the Void Render?" Song asked. "Commander Kim reports the same. She estimates at least 3 million enemy vessels." Song felt sick. 3 dreadnoughts against 3 million enemies. The odds were impossible. "Signal from the planet," said the communications officer suddenly. "It's weak, but it's there. Put it through." The voice that came over the speakers was musical and strange, but the translation computers had been working on it for days. The words came through clearly. "Human ships. Thank you for coming. I am Velthara of the Valari Republic. We did not think anyone would answer our call." "This is Admiral Song of the Earth Fleet," Song replied. "We're here to help." "What's your situation?" "We are the last," Velthara said, and Song could hear the sadness in her voice. "The swarm has taken everything. My people hide in the deep caves now. Our shields will fail in 2 days, maybe 3. Then we will join our sisters among the stars." Song looked at the tactical display. The enemy ships, the swarm, had formed a sphere around the planet. They were slowly tightening the formation like a noose around a neck. "Velthara, we're going to get you out of there. Just hold on. You cannot fight them all," the alien leader said. "There are too many. Save yourselves. Tell the galaxy what happened here." Song cut the transmission and turned to her officers. "I want full tactical analysis. How do we break through that formation?" "Ma'am, with respect, I don't think we can," said the tactical officer. "Even with all 3 dreadnoughts firing at maximum power, we can't fight 3 million ships." "Then we don't fight them all," Song said. "We fight smart. Commander John, take us closer. I want to see what these things really are." Captain Bo-Ra Han was having the worst day of her career. Her ship, the Relentless, was much smaller than the dreadnoughts. It was fast and hard to detect, which made it perfect for scouting missions. But right now, she was flying through the edge of the alien swarm, and every instinct was telling her to run. "Stay calm," she told her crew. "We're just taking pictures." The alien ships were even stranger up close. They pulsed with their own light, and their hulls seemed to shift and flow like liquid. Some had what looked like eyes or mouths. Others sprouted tentacles or spines. "Captain, they're reacting to us," reported the science officer. "The nearest ships are turning toward us." "How close are they?" 5 kilometers and closing. They're not very fast individually." "Good. Get us some close-up scans, then we're out of here." But as the Relentless tried to leave, something incredible happened. The alien ships began to merge together. 2 became 1, 4 became 1, then 8. In seconds, a dozen small ships had combined into something the size of a human cruiser. "Captain," shouted the pilot, "it's coming right at us. Emergency jump. Now." The Relentless disappeared just as the merged alien ship reached their position. They reappeared near the human fleet, their hull scorched by the enemy's weapons. "Signal the Admiral," Han gasped. "Tell her these things can combine. They're not just individual ships, they're parts of something bigger." Admiral Song received the report while she was studying tactical data. The news made everything worse. If the enemy ships could merge, then the human fleet wasn't just outnumbered. They were facing an enemy that could become stronger during the battle. "Ma'am, incoming transmission from Earth," said the communications officer. "It's Admiral Park on the Dauntless." "Put him through." J-Ho Park's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. "Yuna, I'm 3 hours behind you with a support fleet. What's the situation?" "Bad," Song replied honestly. "Worse than we thought. The enemy has millions of ships, and they can combine into larger units. We're going to need everything you've got." "What about the stellar breakers?" Song shook her head. "Still offline. We jumped before they were fully charged. It'll be another day before we can use them." "Then we buy time," Park said. "One day. Can you keep the aliens busy for one day?" "Don't know, but we have to try." Song cut the transmission and turned to face her bridge crew. They were all looking at her, waiting for orders. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said quietly, "we came here to save an alien species from extinction. The odds are against us. The enemy outnumbers us 3 million to 3. But we're human beings and we don't know how to quit." She paused, looking at each face. "In 1 hour, we're going to attack that swarm. We're going to punch a hole through their formation and establish a beachhead on the planet's surface. Colonel Jinwoo Lee and his Marines are going to land and help the aliens hold their ground." "Ma'am," said Commander John, "how do we fight 3 million ships?" Song smiled grimly. "The same way we fought the Centauri fleet at Proxima. We make every shot count. We use their numbers against them, and we remember that we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every innocent life in the galaxy." She turned to the tactical display. "All ships, prepare for combat. Target the outer edge of the enemy formation. We're going in." The 3 dreadnoughts began to move toward the swarm. Their weapons powered up, their shields strengthened. Behind them, Admiral Park's support fleet was racing to catch up. On the planet below, Velthara and her people watched the sky through the crystal walls of their underground city. The human ships looked impossibly small against the vast swarm that surrounded their world. "They came," she whispered. "The war titans came." The battle for Kepler 442 was about to begin. The first shot came from the Thunderstrike. A beam of pure energy lanced out from the massive dreadnought, cutting through space like a sword of light. It struck a cluster of alien ships and vaporized them instantly. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the swarm exploded into motion. "All ships open fire," Admiral Song shouted from the bridge. The 3 human dreadnoughts unleashed everything they had. Nuclear missiles streaked through space, each one burning like a small sun. Particle beam arrays swept across the enemy formation, cutting through alien ships like a knife through paper. Railguns fired streams of metal slugs at incredible speed, turning enemy vessels into clouds of glowing debris. The alien swarm responded with fury that was beyond anything human. Millions of bioships surged toward the 3 dreadnoughts, their organic hulls pulsing with angry light. They fired weapons that looked like streams of acid eating through human armor. Strange projectiles that screamed through space, making sounds that hurt to hear. "Hull breach on Deck 7, someone shouted over the combat noise. "Seal it," Commander Jian ordered. "Damage control teams to all affected areas." The thunder strike shook as alien weapons struck her massive hull. But she had been built for this. 2 meters of armor absorbed most of the damage, and her shields deflected the rest. "Enemy ships merging on our starboard side," reported the tactical officer. Song looked at the display. Dozens of small alien vessels were flowing together like drops of water, becoming something much larger and more dangerous. "Target that formation." Full spread of missiles. The combined alien ship was the size of a human battleship now, and it was heading straight for the world breaker. Captain Sang Ho Yoon saw it coming. "All guns target the merged enemy. Fire when ready." The world breaker's main weapons spoke with the voice of thunder. Beams of energy and streams of metal projectiles hammered the alien construct. Pieces of it broke away, but it kept coming. "Sir, it's not stopping," his weapons officer said. "Then we hit it harder," Yoon replied. "All power to forward guns." The alien ship struck the World Breaker's shields with incredible force. The dreadnought's protective barrier flared bright as a star, then flickered and died. "Shields down," someone screamed. "Ramming speed," Yoon ordered quietly. "Sir, you heard me. Full speed ahead. Right into that thing." The World Breaker's engines roared to full power. The massive ship accelerated toward the alien construct like a missile. At the last second, Yoon activated the ship's self-destruct system. The explosion could be seen from the other side of the solar system. The World Breaker and the alien construct vanished in a ball of nuclear fire that briefly outshone the system's sun. When the light faded, both ships were gone. "Captain Yoon," Admiral Song called over the communications. There was no answer. The World Breaker was dead, taking 15,000 brave souls with her. "Ma'am, the aliens are regrouping," reported the tactical officer. "They're forming into larger units." Song wiped tears from her eyes and focused on the battle. The swarm was changing tactics. Instead of attacking with millions of small ships, they were combining into hundreds of larger ones. Each merged construct was now the size of a human dreadnought. "Signal the Void Render," she ordered. "Tell Commander Kim to prepare for close combat." On the surface of Kepler 442b, Colonel Jinwoo Lee and his Marines had managed to land during the confusion of the space battle. They found themselves in a city unlike anything human eyes had ever seen. Everything was made of crystal. The buildings, the roads, even the trees. It was beautiful and alien and dying. "This way," said their guide, a Valari named Telshan. The alien looked like a walking crystal sculpture, with faceted skin that caught the light of the explosions overhead. They descended into underground tunnels that sparkled with their own inner light. The crystal walls showed images of the battle, in space, somehow broadcasting what was happening above. "Your people fight bravely," Telshan said as they watched the World Breaker sacrifice herself. "They're buying us time," Lee replied. "But not much. We need to help you prepare your defenses." The Valari had weapons, but they were designed for beauty as much as function. Their crystal technology was advanced but peaceful. They had never fought a war like this. "Show me your shield generators," Lee said. In space, the battle was getting worse. The alien swarm had formed into massive constructs, each one attacking a human ship. The Thunderstrike was fighting 3 of them at once, her weapons blazing continuously. "Hull temperature critical," reported the engineering officer. "We can't keep this up much longer." "What about the Stellar Breaker?" Song asked Chief Engineer Woojin Park. "Still charging, ma'am. Maybe another hour." "We don't have an hour." "Admiral," said Commander John suddenly, "I have an idea." "What if we don't fight them all at once?" "What do you mean?" "The enemy merges to become stronger. But what if we could make them merge in the wrong place? Lead them away from the planet, then hit them when they're all together." Song understood immediately. "Use ourselves as bait." "Yes, ma'am." All 3 remaining ships jump to the edge of the system. The swarm follows us. Then when they merge into one giant construct, we hit it with everything we have. It was desperate and dangerous, but it was also their only chance. "Signal the Void Render and Admiral Park's fleet," Song ordered. "Tell them the plan." The human ships began to pull back from the planet. As hoped, the alien swarm followed them. Millions of bioships streamed after the retreating humans like a river of living metal. "They're taking the bait," reported the EU. "Sensor officer." "Good. Keep pulling back. Make them think we're running." The aliens followed the human fleet to the edge of the system, far from Kepler 442b. Then, as John had predicted, they began to merge. Thousands became hundreds. Hundreds became dozens. Dozens became one. The final alien construct was the size of a small moon. It pulsed with malevolent life, covered in weapons and eyes and reaching tentacles. It was the most terrifying thing any human had ever seen. "Ma'am, the Stellar Breaker is ready," announced Engineer Park. Song looked at the massive alien creature floating in space before them. This was it. Everything depended on the next few minutes. All ships, target the construct's center mass. Stellar, breakers at maximum power. Charging sequence initiated, came the reply from the Void Render. Thunderstrike stellar breaker ready to fire. Song took a deep breath. All ships, fire. 3 beams of energy capable of cracking planets struck the alien construct simultaneously. The explosion was visible from Earth, 1,200 light-years away. Space itself seemed to burn as the massive alien organism was torn apart at the molecular level. When the light faded, the alien swarm was gone, completely destroyed, but the cost had been terrible. The Worldbreaker was gone. Thousands of human lives had been lost, and the surviving Valari were homeless, their beautiful crystal world scarred by war. Signal from the planet, reported the Yao, communications officer. It's Velthara. The alien leader's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but grateful. Admiral Song, she said, we are in your debt. My people live because of your sacrifice. What will you do now? Song asked. We wish to join you, Velthara replied. The Terran Federation. We have technology that might help you, and we need protection. Will you have us? Song smiled for the first time in days. Welcome to the family. As the human fleet began the long journey home, carrying the survivors of 2 worlds, Admiral Song made one final log entry. The Nocthul swarm has been destroyed. The Valari people are safe. The cost was high, but some things are worth any price. Today we proved that humanity will answer the call when innocent civilizations face extinction. The war titans of Earth stand ready to defend all life in the galaxy. 3 days after the battle, Admiral J. Ho Park stood in the crystal ruins of what had once been the most beautiful city in the galaxy. The Valari capital stretched for hundreds of kilometers underground, its walls made of living crystal that had once glowed with soft, peaceful light. Now many sections were dark, their inhabitants gone. It's incredible, said Dr. Sunho Kang as he examined a crystal wall. These structures aren't built, they're grown. The Valari don't just live with their technology, they're part of it. Velthara approached them, her crystal form moving with fluid grace despite the sadness in her movements. She had lost most of her people to the swarm, but she was determined to help the survivors build a new future. Your doctor is correct, she said in her musical voice. My people have always been one with our crystal cities. We grow them as you might grow gardens. Each building is alive, in its own way. How many of your people survived? Park asked gently. Perhaps 50,000 on this world. Another 100,000 on our colony worlds that the swarm had not yet reached. Velthara's light dimmed with grief. We were once 2 billion strong. Colonel Jinwoo Lee joined them, his marine armor covered in crystal dust. His teams had been helping evacuate Valari civilians from the deeper tunnels. Ma'am, we've got another group ready for transport. About 300 individuals. They're asking if they can bring some of their crystal seeds. Crystal seeds? Park asked. They're how we preserve our cities, Velthara explained. Small crystals that contain the genetic pattern of our buildings and technology. With them, we can grow new cities wherever we settle. Of course they can bring them, Park said immediately. Take whatever you need. Admiral Yuna Song's voice came through Park's communicator. Admiral, we're getting reports from the outer system. 2 more ships just jumped in. The Starfall and Doomhammer. They made it after all. Park smiled. Better late than never. How are our casualties? Final count is 14,837, Song replied quietly. Almost all from the Worldbreaker. Captain Yoon saved us all with his sacrifice. We'll make sure he's remembered, Park promised. What about ship repairs? The Thunderstrike took heavy damage, but she'll fly. The Void Render is in better shape, and the new arrivals are at full strength. Good. We may need them. Dr. Kang looked up from his crystal examination. Admiral, I've been studying the swarm's remains. What we found is disturbing. How so? The bioships weren't just weapons, they were scouts. This wasn't an invasion force, it was an advance team. Park felt cold. You're saying there are more of them? Maybe. The ship fragments contain navigation data. The swarm came from outside our galaxy, from the void between star systems. There could be others out there looking for new feeding grounds. Velthara's crystal form suddenly blazed with light. You speak of the Great Hunger, she said, her voice filled with ancient fear. My people have legends of such beings. They come from the dark between worlds, consuming everything in their path. Legends? Park asked. Stories passed down for 1,000,000 years. We thought they were just tales to frighten children. But if what your doctor says is true... She paused, her light flickering with worry. The swarm that attacked us may have been just the first of many. Captain Mi-young Kim's voice came through the communicator. Admiral Park, you need to see this. We found something in the wreckage of the swarm's command ship. An hour later, Park and his team were aboard the Whisper, looking at a strange organic device that had been recovered from the battle site. It pulsed with its own light and made soft sounds that were almost like whispers. What is it? Park asked. Some kind of communication array, Kim replied. It's still partially active. Dr. Kang thinks it was sending signals when we found it. Signals to where? Dr. Kang looked up from his scanner. Deep space, beyond our galaxy. Admiral, I think this thing was calling for help. The implications hit everyone at once. The swarm they had fought wasn't just a random attack. It was connected to something much larger and more dangerous. Can we stop the signal? Park asked. Already done, Kim said. But we don't know how long it was broadcasting or what it told them. Admiral Song's face appeared on the communication screen. J-Ho, we're getting priority messages from Earth. The Global Defense Council wants a full report on the alien threat. What are you going to tell them? Park asked. The truth, that we won this battle, but the war might just be starting. Velthara stepped forward. Admiral, my people want to help. We know more about the Great Hunger than anyone in your galaxy. Our crystal technology can be adapted for defense. We can teach you to build early warning systems, weapons that can fight biological constructs. In exchange for what? Park asked. Protection, a new home, a chance to rebuild our civilization under the shield of Earth's military might. Park didn't hesitate. Done. Welcome to the Terran Federation. 2 weeks later, Admiral Song stood on the bridge of the Thunderstrike as the massive ship prepared to jump back to Earth. Behind her, a convoy of transport ships carried 50,000 Valari refugees to their new home. The crystal beings had already begun sharing their technology, and human engineers were amazed by what they were learning. Jump coordinates locked in, reported the navigation officer. Signal from the planet, said the communications officer. Final message from the Valari settlement team. The voice of Telshan came through the speakers. The memorial crystal has been planted, Admiral. It will grow into a monument to honor your fallen warriors. Captain Yoon's name will shine in crystal light for 1,000,000 years. Thank you, Song replied. Take care of yourselves down there. We will. And Admiral, if more of the Great Hunger comes, we will be ready. Our new cities will be fortresses, and our crystal weapons will burn them from the stars. As the human fleet jumped toward Earth, carrying the survivors of 2 civilizations, Admiral Song made her final log entry about the Battle of Kepler 442. We came to answer a distress call from a dying species. We saved them, but we learned that the universe is more dangerous than we ever imagined. There are things in the dark between galaxies that see all life as food. But today we also learned something else. That different species can work together, fight together, and build something stronger than either could create alone. She paused, looking at the stars through the bridge windows. The Valari call us the War Titans, and maybe they're right. But we're more than that. We're protectors. We're the ones who answer when innocent people cry for help. And now, with our new crystal allies, we're ready for whatever comes next. The swarm is dead, but the war for the galaxy has just begun. Earth stands ready. On the planet below, crystal spires began to grow from the ruins of the old cities. But these new structures were different. They combined Valari beauty with human strength. They were fortresses that looked like works of art, ready to defend against the next wave of the Great Hunger. In the deep caves where the Valari had hidden during the battle, children who had never seen sunlight began to learn about the humans who had saved them. They learned about courage, sacrifice, and the importance of standing together against the darkness. And in the void between galaxies, something vast and hungry received a signal from a dead swarm. It turned its attention toward a small spiral galaxy where organic life flourished. It began to move slowly but inevitably toward new feeding grounds. But this time it would not find helpless prey waiting to be consumed. It would find humans and Valari, crystal technology, and human weapons, working together to defend their homes. The war titans of Earth were waiting,